All right. So here we are, and Toshi and I were just talking prior to starting to record about what we in KI call the drugs of the 21st century, right? Which we name as beliefs, identities, belief systems, worldviews, thought systems, whatever it is. That's kind of the new drug uh, for this century. So. And the reason we were talking about that was I've noticed this week just all the stuff that's been going on in the US right now is just wild to watch. It's like to be somebody that sort of has like started to come off of their drugs, their beliefs, their identities, their worldviews, and process their emotional repression and come out of it to watch what's happening is mind blowing. Because there's so much like especially in the sort of religious paradigm or whatever, there's so much um I don't even know what to call it, just like using. Like there's a lot of people that are using and that are very much on the drugs right now, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so
And they need their next hit as well, isn't it? They're always looking for more hits. So like, give me more, some of that drugs. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, and because the stuff that's happened, like there's a real tragic thing obviously that's happened with the guy got assassinated and murdered. And that causes a lot of pain. It triggers and brings up people's deep pain and grief and all this stuff. And so of course you just see so many of them turning back to religion and into their fervor about their beliefs and going back to the beliefs. And we all got to be together and be believing the stuff together to stay safe and get love and all of this. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of incredible, especially as someone who has climbed out of that paradigm and sort of sees the mechanics of it and sees what's happening. It's wild, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's crazy. And it's we mustn't forget every time we believe something, the reason why it's addictive, it feels addicted and it feels compulsive is because we're getting our needs met and we don't even know it. Even like horrible thoughts like, oh my God, wow, this is gonna end. As soon as you believe that, you don't have to feel something that's here now. You can just go and stay out there in the world, in the conversation with current affairs or politics, and then something else happens. Oh my God, this is gonna happen. When he's a man, when you believe something, so you don't have to feel something because your body might be reacting or you yourself reacting. An emotion might want to come up like anger or sadness towards it. But because we can't fully be by emotions, we have to, grab, something, believe in something so we can push it down basically. And that, we get a kick out of it, to be honest. It's in a crazy way. And most of us think those are the suffering, the fact that the world is this and he did this to me and I did this and you did that, all the stories and identity. But the reason why they all feel so true, I'm not denying that that did happen or not happen. But on top of that, we make it out to be something so that we don't have to feel something, including the victimhood and stuff like that. And it's crazy to see it as addiction and stuff. But when you start to see it, you see how we are hooked to believe in something and including ourselves inside. There is the thing that's called Toshi's mind. It's like a drug dealer. Say, look, believe in this, Toshi, believe in this. Oh yeah, of course. And then you could say it's happening within too. If you can start to notice, and then when you start to do a spiritual practice like that, that can come all inside, and you start to really see the inner workings. But it's still the same thing. You still believe in something, and you're getting your pleasures out of it. But the pain has to follow. And that's that. It's
yeah,
only the temporary fix thing. That's why we have to keep coming back for more. But
that's right.
again,
That's
it's
right.
great for being, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the wild thing about it is it's like you said, it can be negative. We call it in KI, we call it landing. Like if I land on a belief, identity, or worldview, I'm landing on it. It can be a negative, it can be positive, it kind of doesn't matter. Like it's if it's something that my system can grab onto, the mind can grab onto so that I don't have to drop in and feel, what's been there all along, then that's the deal. And yeah, I mean, I had one this week. I was telling Toshi before we got on about I had some stuff happening physically, and I woke up in the middle of the night one night and it was just the obsessive thoughts that kept going, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, because I had some like tightness in my chest and it was which ended up being, of course, buried emotions. It was fear and it was grief on top of each other, but it was like producing this belief, oh, you're gonna die, you're gonna have a heart attack, you're gonna die. And it was like it kept running. And I just got high on that. Instead of using that belief to get to the buried stuff for a while, I just landed on it and I just thought, well, I'm just going to stay on this and this is what's happening until it got bad enough. Just like with drugs, until I hit bottom with that drug and with that belief to where I went, okay, challenged it, and then got right to the emotions, moved it through, and then the physical stuff started to resolve itself, you know? So yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And even the thoughts like I'm gonna die, we don't even look at it, but we just can't leave it alone. But that means the same thing. We identify with the thoughts and making it true, when it's just a thought. So, like negative or positive things, it doesn't matter whether you push away or you grab it. There's no difference. You identify with it to be true when it's just a thought. Yes, you might die. That's a fact that but we're not going to that. But that's just the way the life is. But on top of that, again, there's thoughts that come and say, I'm gonna die if I do this, or I must do this or not do this. And all those things are just very we learn to grab them very quick. It happens so quick that we don't even notice that we landing basically. The more it
Yeah.
feels true to us that when you're so sure that you're gonna die, you can't see it as thoughts. It's just like, oh my God, this is happening, so I'm gonna die. And that's how we scare ourselves. And I guess you did inquiry, I don't have to scare myself. And your body reacts, no, I have to, right? And I have to scare myself. But that's the same thing. As long as I'm scared, I don't have to feel something. And that's a great way to get a hit, get high off it and stuff like that. And that's how it spreads, I guess, depression, because it gives people temporary safety from themselves. From there, and then what is that? What is themselves? Is emotions that people don't want to feel and express. That could be sadness or anger or whatever. But we've kind of forgotten that we've done that when we were growing up from our parents, and that just runs the whole show. That's how we trauma bond. And yeah, and if you're in the place of power, like if you're a spiritual teacher or something, and when you don't even know you're repressing, you're just handing out repression to, go meditate or do this. There's nobody here, or non-duality pointing, all that stuff. It's just real, but people keep coming back because they just need more of this. Every time, the pain comes, they need to get more pleasure, and that's always the case. And
Yep.
it's a good business for sure, repression. Maybe that's why the world is so business-based and capitalism is so strong, because it feeds repression, because you have to keep coming back for it. As long as we stay unconscious, the suffering will continue and suffering will sell. If there's no suffering, no one would spend that much money on lots of different things or whatever it is. I guess I'm not saying that money is bad, yeah, but it can be really compulsive towards purchasing stuff or to not feel something. But so it's how we communicate, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It's like it starts before we even know it starts. Like I'm carrying identities from childhood that I'm not good enough or that I'm a Christian or whatever it is that just feel like that, well, that's the truth. That's who I am. So it's like you don't even know until it starts to, cause problems until we start to hit bottom with it, and that's what it feels like collectively has been happening here with a lot of people. I did a video last week called Beliefaholic Rock Bottom, where it's like when you get to the point where it's just like, oh my God, I don't even know it's true anymore. But
Yeah.
that's such a good place to be. I was gonna say something else about that. Oh, what you said about, yeah, spiritual teachers or anybody like in the healing sort of profession or the healing world, like spiritual teachers or therapists or pastors. I mean, I for a long time listened to Eckhart Adyashanti or did Byron Katie's work or even Scott, who was like a teacher of mine, and it was like, yeah, what I don't think I realized was that that I was going to them for the drug. Even though I look back and it's obvious because I would just sometimes listen to Eckhart for hours and just be like, oh, just the sound of his voice, you know.
Yeah. The way
And
he
now it's like,
looks. Yeah.
yeah, the way he looks and oh, he's so present and all this stuff, and I'm just going like, oh, I didn't know I was going back over and over again to a drug dealer, basically, like someone who would give me just enough to get high, but then because these folks didn't know whether it's the spiritual teachers or the therapists or the pastors, they don't know that they're hiding the ball from us when they're not addressing emotional repression, because that's what, like in KI, we call it hiding the ball. When you leave that information out, the fact that emotional repression is the root of suffering, if you leave that out, then it's like,
Yeah.
but that's what they were doing. And I kept going back to the drug dealers. I kept going back to him, and I would go and get high and then go off and be by myself again and start suffering, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
And I mean, so that's what I did in religion. That's what I did in spirituality. So yeah, I mean,
It's
yeah.
so soothing as well, isn't it? And we almost addicted to the fact that they don't talk about emotions. That's what, because I keep going back to Rupa or whoever at Shanti because they don't talk about emotions, because I don't want to talk about and acknowledge the emotions that I don't want to feel, unconsciously, of course. So whatever he or she is so safe, like, yeah, and it's so soothing, like awareness, there's no place for anger here. And we're just full of anger repressed, just sitting in the same room in satsang. It's just amazing feeling, but then the pain always follows. So you have to keep coming back again, book another retreat or watch another YouTube to soothe myself. Oh, there is nobody here. There's just this, there's just awareness. And we're not denying that. The more ironically or strangely, the more you do the work, you really start to embody that more and more that there is nobody here. There is only conditioning that runs the show. Yes, but we can only sit from or listen from the conditioning. And that's what we're pointing to here. So we're not denying any of the non-dual pointing or anything like that, but we cannot hear it because we have to not be here so that you don't have to feel the emotions. So we have to always get something. It's one of the best thing is spirituality, especially for anger repressor, because there's no space for anger in traditional kind of spirituality or anything like that. We can stay quiet and nice and smile and peaceful and all that. So it ticks all the boxes. I was there for many years, and it's so soothing. But your body keeps the score. Every time I go angry, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's boiling underneath. I'm raging underneath. So you feel the hatred or you feel resentment towards people and you don't even know why. And you're trying to push it down more by get more spirituality and get more of the hit so that I can keep it down and stuff like that. And it's a vicious circle. But again, like you say, until we start to suffer enough and when we start to acknowledge that, oh my God, I'm actually really, really suffering here. Without that, we will never turn around. We just keep getting that fixed, and that's okay. Maybe not everyone has to do care or emotional repression work. But if you're suffering and if you acknowledge that, there's nothing better because we don't have to keep coming back to any of those concepts so that we don't, so that we don't have to feel something. That means being here and presence. Because if you're here and presence, you have to feel something. So when you're sitting around in your satsangs, you feel like you're here now. No, that very act of sitting down together for me as well, and being awareness or abiding awareness, whatever that means, because you're abiding in it, whether you do it or not, whether you do that or not. But if you have to go there and sit down in teachers' um, kind of presence or whatever to rest in awareness, then it starts to become something that is not. Or it's coming more than that so that we can soothe ourselves. And that's how we get addicted and how we can really be stuck, basically. So yeah, yeah.
It's
And
it's
it's
it's yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
no, no, no. I just was gonna say, and it's like so when the teacher is not aware of this, it's even more difficult because
Yeah.
he or she doesn't know, it keeps handing out because he or she is keep getting love from all the followers and stuff like that to validate what he believes in. It's basically a trauma bond to, validate what I'm believing unconsciously, approve what I'm believing, and then you just do it to each other. And that we do it for
Yep.
friends, family members too. But it just, we just kind of, that's what we do. Yeah. So yeah.
It's so funny, man, the parallel too, because I know you spent a lot of time in satsang with teachers, and I did some of that too, just with listening and reading. But I spent so much time in 12-step recovery, and that the irony of that, where I'm sitting in 12-step recovery trying to get, off of whatever drug or alcohol or behavior that I'm addicted to, and I'm in there, and I'm jointly doing it with everybody that's in the recovery rooms, and I'm looking up to these certain sponsors who are like gurus, you know what I mean? And and the fact that the people that are trying to help me get off of drugs and alcohol or addictions or whatever, if they're leaving out the emotional repression, if they're hiding the ball, that they are another type of drug dealer.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to get you off of this, but then I'm now you've become addicted on mutual support and on the ideology of this recovery system and all this stuff. It's just my God, you know?
Yeah. Take this drug instead because it's like, it's more morally acceptable and it's more safe and it doesn't damage your, you know,
Yep.
body, let's say, better than smoking or drinking alcohol or doing drugs every night or, but it's still an addiction or still a way to avoid yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did it. I became a sponsor myself. I mean, I became an Al-Anon. When I got into that, I became like a real Al-Anon guru, like in the town that I lived in. People were like, oh, that guy is always sharing great stuff and me. So I was totally getting approval and getting all that from, you know, from being in that position like you're talking about. And so it just, it's funny because I've been back since I started to resolve emotional repression. I've gone back to a couple Al-Anon and ACA meetings, and I'm like, yeah, I don't, and I used to be like, that was my life to like sponsor
Mm,
people, and like that was the whole thing. And, and to be sponsored, the whole deal. But now I'd go back and it's just like, yeah, I just don't, it's not appealing to me now. I just
yeah.
want to live my life. I just want to, be myself and live my life and do my thing now since I finally can.
Mm, yeah. And maybe, but it's not that you don't want to, it's you have the choice or not to do it, not do it, right? If you really want to be a sponsor, you can actually be a real helpful sponsor that doesn't deal with these drugs, basically. And
Yeah.
so when we talk about addiction and compulsion and stuff, we're not saying any of those things are bad necessarily here, like a glass of wine. But if you're addicted to a glass of wine, you'll not be able to enjoy it because the shame is there. You're not here now. When you're just drinking it to, yes, you might get the initial pleasure when you drink it to feel whatever you need to feel. But then that's it. You can't really, really might not be really tasting it. But let's say you did some work and then you did some anger repression work or whatever, the emotional repression work, and then, the compassion to wine fall away. That doesn't mean you're not gonna have a glass of wine. You can choose, to have one or not to have one. But when you do
Mm.
have one, you might enjoy even more than ever. You can actually taste the thing or the depth of the flavor or whatever that people talk about. And that's with anything. Whether you go to church, maybe you can really spend time and actually understand what the church is saying, rather than trying to use it to scare yourself or to push yourself down. So it's not really about we're not never saying certain behavior is good or bad here, but we can actually turn up, enjoy some of the things that used to harm you or that you needed. But a
Yeah.
lot of the things just falls away and you don't get the same hit. So the pattern is you ain't probably not gonna have a glass of wine. But if you do, you can enjoy it, or you might
Yeah.
go do a meditation that you go much deeper into the meditation because you don't have to use it. You can actually appreciate for what it is and stuff like that. And that's my
Yeah.
experience anyway. You're not negating anything anymore. If anything,
No.
anything that I want to do authentically will come back to what I like or not like, or what I'm here to do and stuff will is always coming towards me, sort of feeling, because I don't have to use it for anything.
That's true. It's like the going back into the meetings for me, it felt like this used to feel like me, and now it just
Mm,
doesn't feel like me. And that was a no thanks for me. Maybe something else would be a yes. I felt like you're saying like
yeah.
maybe some other group would be like a yes. But yeah, that's the somebody I was actually talking with somebody about this today where they were like, once you really start to come out of emotional repression and you're able to feel and express what's true and you're able to, you know, then you can play. Then it's like beliefs or ideas or whatever you want to do. Like you're saying, like you can really like do it in like an authentic way. And they were saying, and they were saying, that's true. And I said, it is true, but for people that are still in emotional depression, we have to put the horse in front of the cart first. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's like because we're
yeah.
talking to people about emotional repression, so it's like you're already on your drug. Do you know what
Mm,
I mean? Like you're already in the beliefs or ideas or identities or whatever it is, and you're using that to stay repressed. And so it's like we want to say process that stuff first in order to come out so that you can play, so that you can have a
mm,
glass of wine or whatever it is. Because if not, it's like I'm trying to say somebody who's addicted to drugs, it's okay if you or you're going to be okay if you use that drug. But if they haven't, if they're not in the process of resolving the addiction or resolving their emotional repression, then that's putting the cart before the horse and saying like, and so, and that's what a lot of these teachers do is they'll be like, oh, there's no one to do, there's nothing to do, there's no one to do it, just rest as awareness, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, once
Mm.
you get to
Yeah.
the buried stuff and once you process it, then yeah, totally. You know what I mean? Great. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, but to the repressed mind, that's just another concept. Yeah, okay, well, there's nobody here, there's nothing to do. It's just another drug. But it's exactly the same as there is some people here. There is people here who's doing all this stuff or all that stuff. It's
Yep.
just like it seems like you know, oh, I did repression work and I stopped drinking wine now. But you might be addicted to not drinking wine. You see,
Yep.
the addicted to sobriety. That can, and we're not doing that. It's about freedom to be able to choose. We'll come back. So it's not about quitting anything or anything like that. It's just to be able to have that choice back. Because when you're repressed, you don't have that choice. I must have a
Mhm.
glass of wine or I must not have a glass of wine. Because if I do, I'm an alcoholic and I'm gonna feel the shame. I'm a loser and all that stuff. But
Yep.
so, yeah, it's really, there's no, it's not about behaviors really. It's about what we use to keep,
Yeah.
keep ourselves down, Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing to communicate sometimes. Like I was trying to, somebody asked recently, like, what's the difference between your traditional recovery, like 12 step, all that stuff, and what we call authentic recovery in KI. And I boiled it down to, it's like in traditional recovery, it's rule-based recovery. Like and emotional repression is rule. It's just a bunch of rules that's in your system. And so it's like rule-based recovery. Authentic recovery is like recovering from the rules. It's like you're
Mm,
like you said, Tosha, it's like it's becoming free because I'm dismantling the rules and I'm processing the emotions that were keeping the self-imposed rules like in place,
yeah.
And so you start to resolve that, and then it's just like, well, someone that was previously an alcoholic or identified an identity, their belief was I'm an alcoholic, does the emotional pressure work, and then they come out and they go, okay, I can I can drink a glass of wine or I cannot drink a glass of wine either way, and it's okay, you
Mm,
know? And
yeah.
that's different. That's like a very different animal than the traditional recovery model.
Yeah. And what we do when we work with addiction and compulsions is basically we have to see as resources. So there's no judgment. It's like it's a coping mechanism. It's like, we make it sound bad, but if if you're alcoholic or if you're addicted to drugs, make it sound like that's some bad thing or something, but it's what you had to do in the best of your knowledge to keep going, to be okay so that you can live another day or to be able to be here and carry on and provide for your family and stuff. So you can't take that away. It has to let go of you, right? So that's why we have to work on the rule, like what Dan, what you're saying about you have to work on the rule rather than the actual substances and what the situation is. You have to come in to see why do I need this? Because if you need to stop taking crack because my body can take it, it shouldn't be that hard. You just move on to something else. Start spirituality or go to meditation. Move your addiction somewhere else to safer. But that's not what we're doing. We need to get to where, where that is coming from. Because most of my addiction fell away when I went to spirituality. And I thought, oh my God, because I found awareness and all that stuff, it fell away. But that's another way, another addiction. But I was really addicted to smoking weed and stuff, all that stuff. I couldn't even smoke it when I started meditating and non-dual experiences, all that stuff. But what I didn't know was all my addiction moved to where I was getting my needs met there, not through smoking weed or everything else. But and that's how we can bamboozle ourselves because it feels like the obvious addiction has fallen away. But just check, are you getting your hit from other places? Most likely, yeah, you are. And the
Yeah.
morally accepted or I don't know, those socially accepted things are really hard to spot, because they're accepted already and it's easy to put that on a pedestal, yeah, and not question it. Like spirituality, like activism, or all the righteous things that feel so good. Yes, I'm not saying any of those things are bad here, but you can't fully enjoy them when you're using it for something. So you might fight for your rights, but what are you not feeling when you get to do that? That's the way we have to look into it. and we will defend it to death, when you start to reverse those beliefs, and
Yeah,
all those,
yeah.
you know,
People
the
fight. Yeah,
defensive you become when you fight, when you're fighting for something, whether it's spirituality, this belief system, or whether it's religious church stuff, or whether it's, Black Lives Matter, or whether it's women's rights, the energy that you feel that I am right, or you have to, all that, that's just pure repression. Because then you could
yeah,
never really communicate because it's about validating yourself so you don't have to feel something. But then when you work on yourself and you can really start to be involved in activism and do things that feels right, so you can actually participate, not from your hurt, not from the victimhood. But yeah, but everything's mixed up there. And that's what gets so messy out in the world, isn't it? All
yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the dance that we have to do. A dance. I don't know if it's a dance, but it's like the part of our work and part of getting our work out there and marketing it and just letting people know that it exists. It is challenging all of that. And so that's what, and we get, of course, people that, watch it and go, yeah, that's powerful. And then other people that get triggered and turned away from it or whatever. But it's like, ultimately, it's like, I think our job is to show people how that's possible to get free
Mm,
of your drug, which is this belief or belief system or identity or whatever it is, the one that's underlying your actual addiction. I mean, I think Ajay Shanti was the first person that I heard who said, you're addicted to your thinking, and I went, that was like a
mm,
moment of like, oh my God, it is like that thought for me since I was 4 or 5 years old of I'm unwanted was just
mm,
my drug of choice. I mean, that thing, felt so true. It felt true in my entire body, of course, because it was sitting on top of a bunch of fear and buried anger and, hurt and grief too. But um,
yeah.
yeah, and so when I started to challenge it, which is what this work is ultimately, is I'm just going, okay, I am wanted. I say in reverse inquiry, like I am wanted. Everybody wants me. And the whole body just goes, what? You know what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah.
That's it going, no, I have to keep believing this. I have to keep believing this
Yeah.
and using this drug of this belief, and so, but getting skillful enough in KI to be able to use that to access the stuff that it's sitting on top of is the
Mm,
idea. But I think communicating that to people that are addicted to their thinking, that you are addicted to your thinking. And here's what it is.
yeah.
That's the challenge, because it's like saying to someone that's drunk, hey, you're an alcoholic. You don't have to do anything about it, but that's what's happening is you're addicted to alcohol. And so just going to back off now. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to do with that,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, and we are addicted to thoughts. Because you just explained why the certain thoughts feel so juicy. Like I'm not wanted because there's a thought, cabbage is a thought, Mickey Mouse is a thought, tree is a thought, but I'm not wanted is a thought too. But something about it is so juicy, you can't leave it alone. You want to push away or you want to grab it. Why is that? Exactly what you said. When you reverse, I am wanted. It's like no. I'm not. But then why does that feel true? Because I have to believe that I'm not wanted, so that. And we can take you there, and that's the difference. Yes, Muji and many people points to the fact that how juicy and those thoughts are really tempting, and that's what creates separate self. And we grab it, we can't help it. Buddhism
Yeah.
talk about all the identification stuff like that, but they do not tell you how to. Okay, fine, you tell me the book, tell me how to deal with that, or what is actually happening there. But that's where we make the difference. We can actually you know, kind of use that as an entry point into ourselves. Because it feels like the suffering is something to avoid or to be aware of. But no, we actually use that fact that I have to believe that I'm not wanted. That is a great entry in KI to our emotional repression. So what is it that we don't want to feel when you feel I am not wanted? And that's what, we don't know that because it's unconscious. So how do we get to the unconscious? We have to keep the mind out as much as possible, but also trying to connect the mind and body connection at the same time. So, but how do you stay with it? We have many tools to stay with the body, with the thoughts together, so that we don't have to keep asking the mind what to do, because the mind itself is a repression, or it can't help it. But part of the work is to align the mind so we can actually stay with the work, get the right context so the mind can be aligned so you can stay on it. But that has to come from your experience through yourself rather than trying to grab what you want. Because what everything you want to grab is from repression when you're starting up. But when you start to experience, when you do inquiry, what's stored in your body, why do I want to not feel this and why this happened to me, all the thing. When you start to see that, then mind start to really learn. Then that becomes really aligned with what's really happening. Because you become conscious of the unconscious stuff because you can't move. I've been moving my life through only based on the conscious stuff that's on the stage. But no, you need to go behind this. What's running? Because that's really controlling how you behave. So then your mind will naturally start to align. Okay, I feel this now, and this is happening. Oh, wait a minute. What is it that is happening? That window for you to be able to question and inquire is the mind's work, and it will come back. And it's
Yeah.
all stored in the body. So yeah, it's good work.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I love it. Yeah, maybe we can end with this is there was a someone I was watching talking about the true, in this whole thing that's going on with the religious fervor and what looks actually, frankly, like religious psychosis right now. It's just people being really clinging on to that. Uh, but they were saying that it's like it's because we know the truth, we have the truth, and pe other people are upset because we have the truth and we know it's true and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, I came from that paradigm where you're taught this is what the truth is, right? And what I didn't
Mm.
realize was that's a belief. Do you know what I mean? Like you have a belief, and that beliefs are not the same as truth. The truth actually is a
Mm.
result of challenging and questioning your beliefs. Like your experience of truth, your experience of authenticity is a result of like, qu- you know, challenging that stuff. And so to watch it, it's just wild, anyways, to see that happening. But I just think, people will start to want to do that when the suffering gets bad enough, like when they hit rock bottom with a certain belief or a certain identity, whatever it is, whether it's I'm unwanted or, I'm a Christian or whatever it is. Once that gets painful enough, like once the alcoholic has had enough alcohol, then they get to a point where they're like, all right, what do I do? And then that's where I would say, come try some KI. Just come give it a shot and start to challenge that to see if you can resolve the suffering that we've been talking about this whole podcast.